Hi everyone, this is Cecil, and on today's Yellowstone podcast, I'm going to be talking to you about the most amazing sight that you can see at Yellowstone National Park that almost everyone who comes to Yellowstone doesn't expect to see here. People come here to see the thermal features mainly, the geysers and the hot springs, as well as the wildlife and some amazing scenery. But one of my favorite sites in all of Yellowstone is something called Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. Now, there are three Grand Canyons in the national park system that I love to go and visit. We've got the Grand Canyon in Arizona, we've got the Grand Canyon of the Tuolumne River in Yosemite, and then we have our own Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone here at Yellowstone National Park. And in today's Yellowstone podcast, I'm going to be talking to you about where to go to see some of the most wonderful views at the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. As is always the case recently, if you're listening to this podcast on Google Podcasts or wherever else, please consider going to YouTube and watching instead, as I will be using several maps and other reference points. Just go to YouTube, search for Yellowstone Tours. That's our channel. Once you find Yellowstone Tours, just search within the channel for this particular podcast on Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. Now, let's look at this map. You can see this map at our motel site, ysmotel.com. That's ysmotel.com/map. And I'll be using this map, and I'll also be using a map of the area that you can see at Google Maps. If we go back to the map at our site, our motel site, we'll see that the roads through Yellowstone make up a massive figure of eight. And tour companies like the one that I own will divide tours into a tour of the lower loop of the figure of eight and a tour of the upper loop of the figure of eight. And we'll see that in the middle that there is a road, a line that divides this massive figure of eight into two gigantic loops. It runs from Norris Geyser Basin in the west to Canyon Village to the east. And just to the south of Canyon Village is Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone, and this is where Canyon Village gets its name. Now, this is a Park Service map, and they've been kind enough to include close-ups of the area, of the more popular areas, at the top of the map. So if you do have a Park Service map, which they'll give you when you drive into Yellowstone through any of the entrance gates, have a look at the very top and you will see these close-up maps, which are a very useful tool. So let's say now we're going to be at the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone area. We'll see that from the south. There's a road that comes up from the Hayden Valley, and I've talked about the Hayden Valley pretty often in other of these podcasts. Coming from the west, we're coming from Norris, and coming from the north, we'll drop over Dunraven Pass towards Canyon Village and then Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. There are any number of fantastic viewpoints at Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone, and I'm going to take you through most of them, but I'm also going to tell you what some of my favorites are. So if we have a look at this map over here, where this red line is, this is the road that comes up from the Hayden Valley, the road that I showed you a moment ago. And if we have a look at Google Maps, we can see that the Hayden Valley is down over here, and then the Grand Loop Road will bring you up to the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone area. I'm going to switch over to satellite mode. It makes it a little easier to see the surroundings. Now, once again, here's the road that comes up from the Hayden Valley, and there are three turnoffs to the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone area. There's this one at the bottom that I'm showing you, so the one to the south. There is one in the middle, which I'm also showing you now, and that'll go to the brink of the upper Yellowstone Falls. And then a little bit further up the road is one that goes to the North Rim Drive and the brink of the lower falls. I'm going to start at the bottom, and let's deal with this road over here. It's the only road that goes across the Yellowstone River. and it crosses over something called the Chittenden Bridge. So you'll come over the Chittenden Bridge, and there's some wonderful views on both sides of the bridge of the Yellowstone River. You're not allowed to park your car on or near the bridge, but there are some places before or after it where you can park, and if you walk back really carefully, you can get some great pictures on the bridge. Now, what I'd like to show you are a number of things here. You can see the Wapiti Lake trailhead. This is where you can park your car if you want to do either the South Rim hike or the North Rim hike, and both of those are incredible hikes. You can see these hikes at our YouTube channel. Here's our name, Yellowstone Tours, so just search for that. And I have brought up one of our videos. This one is of the North Rim hike, and it's a hike that myself and one of our guides, Tisha, did at the very, very end of the season when Yellowstone was just about to close. It was the day before Yellowstone was due to close, and we decided to go and do a hike. This is the bridge that goes over the Yellowstone River. This is such a stunning sight, and it's one of only several stunning sights in this on this hike. And right across the river, right over here, is the South Rim hike. This is one of my favorite hikes in all of Yellowstone, and I'll be very quick because I know many of you won't be interested in doing a hike. It's not normally covered in snow. We'd had fresh snow a few days before, but this is one of my favorite hikes in all of Yellowstone. You've got the Yellowstone River, you've got the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone, you've got the Upper Yellowstone Falls, you've got the Lower Yellowstone Falls, you've got some incredible scenery, and you've got various other waterfalls as well. Just remember, go to our channel at Yellowstone Tours and just search within the channel, and you'll find literally hundreds and hundreds of videos and Yellowstone podcasts of the various what we call virtual Yellowstone tours and podcasts that we offer. Now, if you are going to go off the beaten track, remember to carry bear spray with you. Always carry bear spray with you, whether you buy it or you rent it from us at YellowstoneBearSprayRentals.com. Make sure you have bear spray with you if you do intend going off the beaten track. And as you'll hear me say in one of our podcasts about when you should carry bear spray, an argument can be made that you should have it in some of the more built-up areas as well, but that's another story. So you'd park in the Wapiti Lake trailhead parking lot if you wanted to do either the North Rim hike or the South Rim hike, which is on the other side of the river. And I'm not going to waste the time of people who may not be interested in doing these hikes with information about them. Just remember, go to our YouTube channel and you can get information on them over there. So now we are heading to something called Artist Point. And on the way to Artist Point, we'll pass another parking lot, which will be on your left or on the north side of the road, and that is to Uncle Tom's Trail. And Uncle Tom's is another trail that goes down the side of the canyon wall, believe it or not. Unfortunately, it has been closed for the last couple of years. It's closed again this year, and this year is 2021. And there's no indication of when it may open because the Park Service feels that it is dangerous. And while we're looking at this map, can you see where the North Rim Trail goes right along the rim at times? Anyway, so we'll carry on along the south, actually I said North Rim Trail, I meant the South Rim Trail. We'll carry on along this trail until we get to Artist Point. Now, for my money, the best views of the entire Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone are to be found right here at Artist Point. Look at this. You can see all the way back down the canyon to the Lower Yellowstone Falls. And the scenic views are just stunning. And this is one of those places where you can get such incredible pictures. The detail in the rock is amazing. And you'll see where Yellowstone gets its name, but from another part of Yellowstone, from the yellow tinges in the rock. So you've got this magnificent canyon, the Yellowstone River going through it, the falls. The scenery is really amazing. And we do have one of our what we call virtual Yellowstone tours in our YouTube channel. And this is at Artist Point, looking now down towards the, oh dear, and this, can you believe that YouTube would want to run a commercial now? So that is the brink of the lower falls. And as I'm walking along, you can see there's great views of the lower falls. And then you have the stairs which were to my left. You go up to another viewpoint of the lower falls, and the scenery everywhere you look is just amazing. So once again, my opinion is that the best views anywhere of the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone are at Artist Point. Once you've seen Artist Point, you'll make your way back down the road, back down the South Rim Drive. You'll cross over the Yellowstone River, and you'll get back to the Grand Loop Road, continue north. Now, for the last couple of years, the sign that said brink of the upper falls in this direction had fallen down and it hadn't been replaced. I have no idea why it hadn't been replaced, but hopefully it will be put back up soon. But this is a great view of the upper falls. You can park in that parking lot that you see over there and then take a walk down. Now, you are at altitude, and some people may struggle because you're so high up. It's a fairly short walk down to the brink of the upper falls, but the way back is reasonably steep, even though it is short. But if you can make it, if you don't have any medical or health issues, consider doing it. You're on top of the falls, looking down on them. It almost feels that you can reach down and touch the falls. Obviously, you don't do that, but it is a stunning view. You'll then make your way back to the Grand Loop Road, and incidentally, we include the brink of the upper falls on our Yellowstone tours, and you can see our Yellowstone tours at yellowstonetours.net. That's yellowstonetours.net. We do include the walk down here. The reason that I mentioned that will be clear in a minute, because we're going to continue on the Grand Loop Road, and then we'll turn right onto the North Rim Drive. This is a one-way road now. And there's a little parking lot over here where you can park your car. Not only do you have views of the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone as you make your way up towards the east, but there's a trail that you can take down to the brink of the lower falls. It is really steep, it is long, and you will struggle on the way back up unless you're super fit. So we do not include it on our tours for that reason, because there's too many people who may struggle on the way back. However, if you're fairly fit, if you're comfortable getting back up, you once again do have wonderful views of the lower falls. Continuing now on the North Rim Drive, you'll see that there are viewpoints all the way down this road. There are three main overlooks of the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone on the North Rim Drive. And in order, their lookout point, their grand viewpoint, and their inspiration point. Of those three, for my money, lookout point and inspiration point are the two that you shouldn't miss if you are running out of time. From lookout point, you can look back and see the brink of the lower falls. Also, as you make your way towards lookout point, on this side, on the east side, you look down and you'll see some hoodoo-type formations, like some rock spires, and there's always an osprey's nest there. And if you're there in the spring, it's really cute watching the baby ospreys trying to learn how to fly for the first time. After lookout point, we'll come to Grand Viewpoint, and you can't see the lower falls from Grand Viewpoint. You do have some views of the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone, but if you'll excuse the lousy pun, the views from Grand Viewpoint are not quite as grand as the other areas. We'll continue along the North Rim Drive, and you'll actually have to turn off the road. You'll have to turn off this road that goes towards Canyon Village, turn right or east, and that'll take you to Inspiration Point. You can take a little stroll from Inspiration Point back along the North Rim Trail, because this is where the North Rim hike finishes if you do start from the west and walk from west to east. And there are some other smaller rapids and waterfalls down in this area here. So there are some great views from Inspiration Point as well. I'm going to zoom out again so you can get an overall perspective. Here's the bridge over the Yellowstone River. You'll come to Artist Point. Once again, in my opinion, the best views of Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. If Uncle Tom's does open anytime soon, I do suggest that if you are not bothered by heights and if you are up to a hike that can be fairly steep on the way back up, it is worth doing. Then on the other side, on the North Rim Drive, take the walk down to the brink of the lower falls. And then you can also do the brink of the upper falls if you have the energy to do it. You're not going to get too out of breath. And then don't forget the 3 main points on the North Rim Drive: Lookout Point, Grand View Point, and Inspiration Point. Guys, thank you for joining me on another one of these Yellowstone podcasts. If I could put in a quick sales pitch, if you're looking for a motel to stay at in West Yellowstone, we do operate Yellowstone Motel. That's ysmotel.com. And if my internet weren't so slow, you could see a link of it over here. There we go. And we do offer reasonably priced rooms, which all have kitchens in them, so please consider that as an option if you're staying in the small town of West Yellowstone, which is right over here. Thank you so much for joining me on another Yellowstone podcast. I hope you make it to Yellowstone someday.